Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just briefly go over the agenda. First of all, regarding the working group, one update about our the CNCF Safe Working Group proposal. Dan and JJ officially submit the PR to creating the working group to the TOC. Tuesday, so you can find the PR here, and you can either comment or just watching the progress. Okay. So last week we had discussion with Doc. Is there any follow-up on this topic? I didn't see any
Yeah, I thought there were two different things that were going to happen there. One was Klaus was going to create that Google Doc, and I don't remember seeing a note about that.
Yeah.
And I thought.
Yeah. Hi there. Here is Klaus.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to create the Google Doc this week.
Okay.
Yes, because there's some stuff last week I need to handle. Yeah.
No, not a problem. Not a problem.
Sorry about it. Yeah.
Nope. And the other thing is, I can't remember who it was. It may have been Klaus as well. I can't remember, but somebody was going to make a comment on the email thread about this as well. And I suspect that didn't happen. I can't remember who that was, though. Was it Klaus?
Oh, yeah. No. Oh, I think I will give I will summary your the requirement of summary the requirement in the Google Doc. I will also append some option and my comments in the doc, because I want to choose every discussion in the doc instead of the Google thread or email thread.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Is there anything from my side that I need to do? Or is it just a matter of waiting for the Google Doc?
Do you have any follow-up on your side? Have there been any further discussions with other folks?
No, unfortunately, the discussions in the service catalog SIG have kind of come to a stop. What they basically decided to do was to try to head down the path of adding a pre-flight check, which is hitting a stone wall in the group that owns the specification, the service broker spec, because the service broker guys don't want to add a pre-flight check. They don't think that's the right solution. So we're kind of at a stalemate here.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
Okay, then let's try to figure out here.
Okay.
Okay. So anyways, last week's discussion could be found on the YouTube recording in case you missed it. Okay, active proposals. Erica, still here? Any update?
There has been activity on the PR. I'm a little behind on catching up with it since I was out sick last week. So not.
I didn't hear that.
Do keep up. There's been some changes and some discussion. So if you're interested, follow the PR. Nothing getting implemented yet. I guess there's some questions around, do we have any opinions as the working group around the CRD versus in-tree API development?
Remember last time we discussed this, I think the CRD was preferred, but
yeah, I basically was thinking it's just not our concern so much as whoever worries about that API stuff.
Yeah. Anyone else on the out of tree versus in tree? I think last time the general consensus was that it'll be too much of work in tree, so might be good just develop as a CRD. Yeah, that was from team.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay, Yisui, any update on your PRs you want to share?
No update. The namespace initial has a KEP. It's going to be reviewed by someone from API machine learning team, which is in queue, and I haven't heard any response yet.
Okay. Cool. Is Klaus still here? Yeah. Klaus, any update for the gun scheduling API?
Oh, I think for the gun scheduling API, we are have some discussion. Oh, please go to the. Yes, I create another pull request as a community. We are have decided here, so maybe I will
okay.
update. Yeah, for currently the major API is I think it's almost finished, but we still have some comments about how to introduce the API to the core part. We may use the annotation to link between the pod group and the pod, and give a comments on how to maybe we can reuse the alpha field, but that's already under discussion. So at the current stage, we are going to use CRD and use a annotation between the pod group and pod. So, and we are going to implement GAN scheduling in the Kube arbitrator. And we would like to get at least the design document finalized in 1.12. So I think for 1.12 for the design document, I think it's on track. But about the implementation, I'm not sure whether we can catch up the schedule. Maybe next release. Yeah.
Okay. Can you also tag the workgroup policy so that we can track that as well?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Promising. Oh, Torrance here.
Hey, Howard.
Hey, long time no talk.
Yeah, sorry, I've been
The SQL stuff.
yeah.
Do you want to give a quick update on the OPA, the things you guys have been doing?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about OPA. I don't want to derail the conversation though. I just wanted to join and participate.
No problem. We just ran over the current items. Do you have something?
Oh, sure.
Share the screen.
I guess I can share. Let me see. Hold on. I can talk about the roadmap. Maybe that's the most
oh, cool.
interesting thing.
Yeah.
Here, I'll get a link and I'll post it in the chat. Just one sec. And this is public. I think I posted this before elsewhere, but there. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so these slides just give an overview of the Open Policy Agent roadmap for the next few months. And so these are sort of the features that we're, like, the people that are working on OPA sort of full-time or spend a lot of the time on OPA are planning to commit to.
But there are also a bunch of other features that we'd like to add. We just don't have time to commit to them. And there's a sort of overview at the end of those. But the major themes the next 4 months are around integrations with different data lake projects like MinIO and Ceph, some kind of core improvements to OPA in the form of tooling and performance optimization. And then we have a couple speculative integrations with WebAssembly and different query systems that we're looking at. So last month we shipped integrations with MinIO and Ceph. So if you're not familiar with MinIO and Ceph, those are basically on-prem storage solutions. A lot of companies are using them to build data lakes internally. Both MinIO and Ceph implement the S3 APIs, so just basic object storage. And so obviously, like a lot of companies that are building these data lakes are storing sensitive data in there. And so it's very important that they have fine-grained control over who can see what and who can access that data. And so the default like IAM policies that you get from S3 are usually not sufficient. So usually people want something more fine-grained like ABAC. The other thing we shipped last month was SQL filtering. So that there's a blog post out about that. And then we also shipped a query profiler tool to help people understand the performance profile of their policies. This month we're looking at extending that filtering work over to Elasticsearch. And actually this week, we're also supporting some pen testers that the CNCF has graciously sponsored to do some pen testing on OPA. So they're looking at different security aspects of OPA and making sure it's secure. And then we're also starting to get into this WebAssembly work. So I already mentioned the MinIO and Ceph integrations. Those are actually shipped. The PRs, I believe, have been merged. They've been merged for Ceph. I think the MinIO one is about to get merged. But we're super excited about that just because it kind of starts to extend OPA into a new space that it wasn't integrated with before. Query profiler, I just mentioned that. But basically, like once you start working with large sets of policies, it can become difficult to understand why they're performing poorly or where the bottlenecks are in the policies. And so, like when you have hundreds of lines of policies split across multiple files that are maybe doing complex searches in order to make decisions, it's really useful to have some kind of tooling that tells you like, okay, this is the area of the policy that's taking the most time. And so the query profiler generates a report and it tells you that these are the most expensive expressions in your policy. So it's kind of what you'd expect out of any kind of benchmarking tool, or rather profiling tool. So that's available, and we're sort of looking forward to trying that out on larger policy sets in the future. The data filtering work is sort of the initial version's done, and so we're just sort of, it's like the rest of it's kind of hill climbing. The idea here is that a lot of the time it can be difficult to replicate the data that you need in order to make policy decisions into OPA because of various reasons. And so either the data set's too large, or it violates consistency requirements that the application may have, or what have you. And so this is a different approach to doing policy enforcement, where instead of just asking for like an allow or deny decision from the policy engine from OPA, the application would instead ask for like a set of conditions that it should apply to the request that it's trying to authorize. And then the service can take those conditions and it can either evaluate them locally, or it can compile them or translate them down into, for example, SQL, so that they can enforce in the data storage layer. And so this helps with performance. It helps with scalability. We think it could be more maintainable, and then there's a number of other benefits. So if you go to the OPA blog, there's a bunch more detail on this. blog.openpolicyagent.org. There's more detail there. And then we've done an integration with SQL for this, and so the next one that we're going to look at is Elasticsearch. Security audit, I mentioned that. That's being taken. It's happening right now. So what they're looking at is like, is there a way for someone attacking an application to bypass the authorization system? Or is there a way for someone to like exfiltrate data or policy from OPA through the application or something like that? And so we're looking forward to getting that report back from the pen testing firm, which is Cure 53. They're also going to test, if they can, do remote code execution or any kind of man-in-the-middle attack between OPA and the control plane. And then the WebAssembly stuff, that's still early, but the idea being that there's always going to be locations where OPA can't run for whatever reason, right? Like OPA is written in Go currently, so you can't really embed it as a library easily inside of a JVM application or C++ application. So that's always a roadblock. And then there's just going to be other places where OPA will never get deployed for various reasons. But if there was something that was going to be integrated, WebAssembly is a good candidate because it's sort of open and supported by all the major, by major tech codes and so on. And so targeting WebAssembly as a runtime for OPA policies seems like a good goal. And so it'll sort of extend the reach that OPA has across the stack. And then these other issues are mostly about sort of OPA, core OPA functionality. So I won't go into too much detail there just because it's sort of inside baseball.
Torn, I have a question about WASM.
Yeah.
So how is that going to integrate to the internal systems?
So the idea being that the what we've seen is that a lot of not a lot. I should say some people don't want to run a sidecar. They don't want to run another process, right, when they're in their system. And the application team might not have they might just not be allowed to add another process into the system, right? So the sidecar approach for them is kind of a non-starter. Similarly, if they're not building applications in Go, then again they can't really use OPA because it's written in Go. So if they wanted to embed it as a library, they couldn't. So the idea here is that if their only option is to use a library, then what they could do is embed a WebAssembly runtime. And so we're seeing WebAssembly runtimes pop up all over the place. So V8 obviously has a WebAssembly runtime, right? It's one of the more mature ones. But then there are also people building runtimes for Java and C#,
Yes.
PLR and so on. And so what this means is that if we target WebAssembly, then we can run anywhere. So it's still very early. It's still very speculative, but it seems like a powerful platform to build on top of.
Right. Great. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So then I'm just going to skip over the other things because they're just sort of very specific to OPA. But yeah, and then we have a bunch of other features that we're looking for help with. So a lot of these are around integration and tooling. Two I'll just call out. So one is some sort of integration with Prometheus, where we want to be able to sort of surface policy violations. We've talked about how you can use OPA to audit the state of your systems. We've shown that in the past, but it's not really something that's usable right now because we don't have a good user interface for it, right? So you write these policies, you have the thing that's reading or being notified when there are violations, but no one can consume a stream of JSON events, right? And so the idea here would be that you would codify your policies to audit your system like Kubernetes, and then you would push aggregates of that into something like Prometheus, and that where you could see over time the number of violations that exist in the system of a particular type. And so that would help you kind of see if you're diverging from your steady state. Because what we've heard from people is they will always have a certain number of policy violations in the system. That's just never going to go away. And so what they want to see are trends over time. And so we think that that's a pretty cool integration if it were to be built. And we just don't have time to do that right now. Another integration point for us that we've been looking at is around CD systems. And so Spinnaker is obviously a very popular CD system. And so the idea there is that you just want to be able to enforce various invariants over your workloads, right, that are being deployed. And so just like we have policies for admission control and, in Kubernetes rather, and, risk management in Terraform, you can imagine people codifying policies over workloads that are being deployed through Spinnaker. We've spoken with some of the devs on Spinnaker, or one of the devs on Spinnaker, and his thought was that they don't want to be running ad hoc scripts. They don't want to be running Docker containers necessarily. They like the idea of having a sandboxed, constrained runtime for evaluating these policies, and so OPA gives them that. And then we have some other features like adding dependency analysis tooling, actually, which we've added, so that's a little bit out of date, and improved errors and dynamic built-ins / plugins. So actually we've added that got contributed, and you can now link in built-in functions and plugins into OPA dynamically. So some people don't want to have to rebuild OPA from source in order to customize it. They don't have to do that anymore. So that's it. That's the roadmap for the next few months, and sort of highlight of some of the features. Yeah, happy to answer questions or anything or whatever. And these slides, I think, they're published online. I don't know if they're linked in the Opa README, but I think we posted them on Twitter. Who's going to be? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I know. I was just gonna say it sounds like some cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, we're excited.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, my pleasure. Sorry, I haven't been joining us frequently. Who's going to be in Shanghai? Is everybody going to be there, or
Me.
Howard, Dan?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm planning on being there.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So I got one question about the query profiler. So was that like based upon existing profiling tools, or?
Yeah, so we just have so OPA. One of the features that it has is the ability to like instrument policy evaluation and see what the like. So OPA has a feature that lets you trace policy evaluations, so you can understand why decisions are being returned the way they are. It turns out you can actually also use that instrumentation to profile policies, and so we just built on top of that. It's not very complicated. It's a very simple implementation, but it looks like it's going to be useful. We had cases where we had policies that were like several hundred lines of policy code split across multiple files, and it just became like, unless you were the person that wrote the policy, you didn't really know where the bottlenecks were. And so after we'd like kind of optimized a few policies by hand, we realized like, okay, we need tooling to make that to improve that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or any other businesses you would like to discuss?
Not on my end.
Okay, if not, then let's conclude the meeting earlier and see you next week.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, everybody.
joining us.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.